Want to bring in Bill Madden of the New York Daily News, great baseball columnist. And, Bill, you caught my attention yesterday, which is what I'm sure you were trying to do with all your readers, but you started talking about the scenario of Mike Scioscia with the Angels, Don Mattingly with the Dodgers. Why don't you let the audience know what you were writing about?
Well, it's a very kind of a coincidental situation that's evolving out there in Los Angeles, and I tied it to a little ancient baseball history, Dan, when I brought up the point back in 1948, the Giants, the New York Giants, had a very popular manager in Mel Ott, who was going on to a Hall of Fame career for them. And but he was a nice guy, and Horace Stoneham, the owner of the Giants, wasn't real happy with the way the Giants were playing, and he was getting ready to fire Mel Ott when he contacted Branch Rickey, who was the owner of the Dodgers, or the general manager of the Dodgers, and asked him about Bert Schotten, who Rickey had hired to manage the Dodgers in '47 when Leo DeRocher had been suspended from baseball, and Rickey was actually looking to get rid of DeRocher. So he told Horace Stoneham, he said, "Look, I don't want to give up Schotten, even though he's not managing for me at the present time. I'd really like to bring him back. But if you'd like, I might be interested in letting you have DeRocher." And so what happened was DeRocher left the Dodgers to go over to the hated Giants. And I look at the situation in Los Angeles right now, where the Dodgers and the Giants, these ancient rivals, are both struggling mightily this year. And Artie Moreno's dissatisfied with Mike Scioscia, and the Dodgers are dissatisfied with Don Mattingly. And Scioscia's a Dodger at heart, well, at least he always has been. Was a disappointed suitor for the Dodgers job when they got rid of Bill Russell many years ago. And there's always been the speculation that Scioscia would wind up back with the Dodgers at some point. Well, this would seem to be the opportune time for that to happen because of the fact Scioscia has a very expensive contract that runs through 2018, and about the only team that could afford that contract is the Dodgers. So I can see a scenario unfolding here if, in fact, the Dodgers continue to in this free fall into last place that they're in right now with all these expensive players. And poor Donnie is going to he's going to be the one that gets the blame for all this. And if they do get rid of Mattingly, they're going to need another manager, and they're going to need a name manager for that team. And a guy like Scioscia is the perfect fit for them.
If you're looking at putting blame on Mattingly and Scioscia for their team's play, who would get more of the blame?
I think probably Mattingly would, simply because of the fact that, you've seen Magic Johnson coming out in the spring and saying, already predicting they're going to the World Series this year. And he's in a real tough situation there. And they've got a $213 million payroll or whatever it is. It's the second highest in baseball for the Yankees. And they're in last place. And it's the old story, Dan. It's not the manager's fault that Matt Kemp has hardly any home runs this year, and he seemingly has lost all his power. It's not Mattingly's fault that Greinke went on the disabled list, that Billingsley is out for the season. His pitching starting rotation has been decimated by injuries. And it's not Mattingly's fault that Adrian Gonzalez has got a neck injury, and he's claiming that he's not going to be the power hitter that he once was anymore. All of these factors have resulted in the Dodgers having a horrible season so far. And you can't blame any of them on Mattingly, but inevitably, when teams go bad, it's the old story is you can't fire the 25 players, so you got to fire the manager. And I'm afraid that Donnie is going to be the victim here.
Can you buy a championship?
Well, I guess the Yankees would maintain you could, although I think it should be pointed out that when they were winning all those championships under Joe Torre, I don't believe they had the highest payroll in baseball. I know at the beginning of that whole streak, the Blue Jays had the highest payroll in baseball. So, I don't believe you can. I think when you go out, if you look at all, especially the recent history, when these teams have gone out and just loaded up on expensive free agents and put together these all-star teams, all-star, name-only teams, they never seem to work. The Marlins last year is a classic example, and then they dumped all of those players on the Blue Jays this year, who are making another classic example of it. In fact, I remember saying to somebody at the winter meetings when the whole deal came down, I said something about the fact that don't forget that all these players that the Blue Jays are getting getting from Miami finished last year. So, I believe that really the tried and true way to win pennants and to win championships is the way the Cardinals do it, and that's from developing from within. You got to have a homegrown nucleus, and those again, going back to those Joe Torre teams in the '90s. That was a homegrown nucleus that the Yankees had. Almost all of the key players on those teams, Jeter, Rivera, Andy Pettitte, Bernie Williams, they were all homegrown players that they finally, when George Steinbrenner was out of baseball and suspended, Gene Michael reversed the trend that had been developed there over the years with George and said to all these people coming to him trying to get their best players in the farm system from him, he said, no way, we're not dealing with any of these guys. George is gone now, and we're going into a new philosophy here where we're going to develop our own. And it wound up giving him 5 world championships in 5 years. Four world championships in 5 years.
He's Bill Madden, a columnist, New York Daily News, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. This buzz around Matt Harvey, it wasn't long ago where we had that buzz around Steven Strasburg. What makes Harvey different from Steven Strasburg?
Well, I think for one thing, he's durable. He's got great mechanics, and he reminds me a lot of Seaver. And I know that is kind of a tired statement from around here in Metland because the Mets have been waiting for the next Seaver for a long time, and I really think this guy's the real deal. Just for a lot of reasons. I mean, like number one is his mechanics. He's got great mechanics, and number two, he's got a great mentality. This is a kid who grew up in Connecticut. New York doesn't scare him, and he's got a great approach to every start. And there's just nothing about this kid you can't love. He pitches to contact. He's got 4 really good pitches that he's mastered, and I think he's going to be around for years to come because of the fact that I don't think he's going to get hurt, and you can't say that about Strasburg. He's already had the Tommy John surgery, and the way they debuted him last year, and even this year, every time he has a bad start or something, there's always issues with him. There's always questions. Is there anything wrong with his arm? You don't hear any of that with Harvey.
Well, great column yesterday. Certainly interesting scenario. We'll keep an eye on that. Bill, good to talk to you again. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, Dan, my pleasure.
All right, Bill Madden, New York Daily News columnist.